Welcome back to the Your Girl Yaz podcast, the podcast to listen to if you're a female entrepreneur who's ready to attract more fun, more money, success, friendships, and amazing clients into your business. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I can add some more positivity into your day in this episode. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to a very beautiful episode. I know this is going to be on the Your Girl Yaz podcast. Today I have the lovely Erin Rose, also known as Light Witch on Instagram. Honestly, I wanted to first welcome you, and then I can share a little bit about why I wanted you on the podcast.
Thanks, Yaz. I feel like you inspire so many people, and I know when we first met, you were such a bright light, and I'm just so proud of you and just happy to be here
Yes.
having a chat.
Oh
Having
my
a good
gosh,
old
we love a
yarn.
good old yarn. I feel like that's a good word. I feel like in English, so I'm like a good old yap, but I love it. Yes, well, you may be a bit emotional there because I feel like you have seen a big part of my journey, and Erin has been a big part of my journey as a, in this space. When I came across Erin, I was actually living in Byron Bay, and I saw this beautiful pink poster of this beautiful like women's circle festival event, and I was like, wow, I just got there. I was 22. I was just like figuring out my life a little bit, and this event opened up so many doors for me, and it was just such a enriching, beautiful spiritual time. And I am just so grateful that I came across you, Erin, and I just really, really wanted, everyone to feel your beautiful energy, hear from you. So thank you for your role in my life, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Yaz. That's beautiful because, yeah, I remember that time, and we also got a little testimonial from you on that day when you came to the festival, and you were just such a bright, happy, positive spark, and you just really what I see of you on social media, because we obviously aren't in the same town anymore. I just really feel your authenticity and how genuine you are from that girl I met at the festival. And you got to meet so many amazing people like Molly, and like to create so many great friendships at that festival as well. So yeah, it was so good to have your energy there too.
And it is so crazy, isn't it? Because I think you do go on I've been on a massive evolution in the last few years of changing in myself and my growth. And, it's so beautiful being able to have this podcast, having people on that have been such a big part of that. And I feel like with the work that you do, I'm sure you have been on a big old adventure yourself. And I thought it would be really nice for you to maybe share with everyone a little bit about what you do, the journey that you've been on, and open up the space to share.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, I guess what I do is create spaces for people to come together, and they've kind of evolved to be women's circles and women's spaces, because I just feel very passionate about having these non-judgmental, safe spaces for us to come in as we are and start to embrace ourselves as a whole. So I think holistic for me is a word that I really resonate with, because that's a journey I've been going on myself for a really long time, is to how to integrate all of these parts of me, not just the things that I like about myself, but also the parts that I find difficult to accept, or the part and the patterns that that I know sort of block me or keep me sort of low, or so really just I think that's kind of where my passion's been, to create those spaces for women to come and be able to just be in reflection for themselves, and I think we can do that in spaces together as community, and with my background as a yoga teacher and being in a lot of retreat spaces, I love to bring that nurturing and nourishing and that kind of luxe
Yes.
vibe of all that attention to detail that make you feel so good about yourself, and yeah, to kind of treat yourself as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And it's
I guess that's kind of what I'm doing now, where it's evolved
and it
to.
really is a feeling that you create. Like when you use that word lux, I remember being at your festival and me and Molly, a lovely girl in this space as well, were talking, and we were like, she has thought of everything, like from the food to the
Hmm.
space to the beautiful sound healing to the movement. Like it really, really was a space where you felt safe to share all of you, and be exactly who you are and not feel like you have to dim parts of yourself, or there was just so many elements of
Mm.
this event. I really wish everyone could experience an amazing light witch
Mm.
event, but it just felt so
Mm.
raw and open. So what journey have you been on to, I guess, open up that space for other people and really be able to hold these spaces?
Yeah, it started quite long ago,
Yes.
actually. Um, Back when I was living in Scotland, I lived in Scotland for a few
Wow.
years. And it was kind of probably this time where I wanted to like break free from, this small country town I grew up in, and break free from the way I felt
Hmm.
judged, and everyone knows everything about everyone. And so going to Scotland was like no one knew who I was, and I did go a bit wild. I went a bit wild, and probably I didn't have the skills or the tools to know my boundaries at that time. So looking back on it now, I really did put myself in some unsafe times and unsafe places, and I actually, when I look back, I noticed that I went into this sort of really state of
Mm.
depression, or um, I wasn't really that well. I would say I wasn't very aware. Anyway, I had this really lovely, beautiful friend who kind of took me under her wing, and she really encouraged me to go to this retreat in Italy, which I was like, no, I'm not going to go. It sounds a bit woo woo, like all of this
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I ended up going, and it completely cracked me open. And I remember by the fourth or fifth day, we were doing this mindfulness exercise, and I completely broke down crying, and I couldn't stop. It was an awakening, and I kind of always said it was like this a spiritual awakening, because after that I had an awareness of myself that I'd never had
Hmm.
before. And I can kind of reflect on that particular time as what actually happened was I was doing all of these mindfulness exercises and these beautiful group community music and self massage in that retreat, all of these elements that she had in it that helped me actually feel what it was like to be
Hmm.
in my body. And so I was able to land back into my body and feel like what it was like.
Mm.
So I can kind of say that both spiritual awakening and an awareness of myself was like hand in hand, I would
Mm.
say. Um, and so since then, um, I've I've been on this discovery of how to know
Hmm.
myself more, and um, and then that's when I discovered color therapy, and I discovered the energetic body, and I started to study it with my mentor,
Mm.
who was someone from my hometown. She was a grandma. She was a grandma, and I sat with her for years until she passed away a couple of years ago at 95. And she taught me all about energy and Reiki and color therapy. And part of that journey was this color pink. And pink represents
Hmm.
self love and unconditional love and self acceptance. And I felt like as I started that journey into learning about color therapy and the energetic body, that self-love was almost like my mission and my purpose in life, that I was here as this human being to discover what it was like to accept myself unconditionally. And so this role as light witch or as a yoga teacher is just part of that identity. But I feel like from my core, what I'm here to do is learn how to love myself fully and unconditionally, which for me means all of those parts that I was talking about before, holistically. And I guess also I was learning about astrology as well, and so with my astrology, um, I have these leadership qualities, as the Leo. So I want to share things and share knowledge. So that's also been a part of my role here to help, others get that knowledge. So I think with those desires of wanting to lead and wanting to teach, I was able to kind of bring what I'd been learning and so like, like passionate about, like going, wow, this opened me up and completely changed the direction of my life, because I was now not going down that road that I was when I was overseas. And now sort of being aware of these mindfulness tools and learning how to accept myself and love myself, and then and started to share that through the color therapy sessions, where they were like one-on-ones. They were like, we called them consultations, and we were taught how to really ask people questions that helped them dive into themselves. We weren't there to tell them what to think or how to think about things, but instead we were taught how to ask really deep and interesting questions, so that they could do this self-reflection and come to this empowering state themselves, which I'm very passionate about, allowing people to come to that themselves, that allows them to then go off on their journey without needing to rely on a particular person, or something to help them get through. I think that that's really important for all of us to learn. So all of these influences, these positive influences that that have had on me, have helped me then kind of form what I offer today, through the yoga and through that self-inquiry and through that guidance. Really, I'm just sort of sitting there as this support and kind of like this cheerleader that will help you reflect and mirror something that you might need to be aware of, but only in your in your own time when you're ready. So that's kind of been a really interesting, ongoing, and I think lifelong journey this will be for me, because I'm just so interested in this self-development work, I guess. And there's been times, of course, where I've been like, that's enough self-growth, like that's enough, like asking the questions of self-reflection, and I just need to put it down for a bit and just have a bit of fun too, because sometimes I get a bit serious about it. So that's sort of been this beginning of the self-love. And as I've grown older, and I had my 40th birthday last year, I just continue to see how much more there is to go and how much more there is to learn. And I'm really excited for that, because I also spend time with older women who I look up to and in this kind of space, and just go, wow, like I'm excited to kind of get where they are too. There's so much for us to enjoy.
There's so much to dive into in what you just said. Like everything, I was just like grinning, because like even as you said there around like, you sharing is helping other people see parts of themselves. And it really brought to the surface to me around the sharing all parts of you. Like self-love isn't just the sharing the good parts, which I do think sometimes we're taught sometimes and like programmed to just show the good and the innocent and the pretty parts of self-love, but actually the, you know, the darker feminine energy and the feminine energy is, has so many more depths, which I'm still, you know, learning
Mm.
so much about, and I'm sure I always will be. And before I ask the question, I just wanted
Mm.
to share, whenever I think of you, I have an image of you like dancing, like salsa dancing, and I just feel like you, like that's the image I have of you, of like you just like dancing, because I have this one video on my phone of you like shaking and dancing and like just really really happy, um, and that's like the image I have. So whenever you're like, oh, I like the serious parts, it's also like I see that part of you, like that's the image I have of you.
Awesome.
Woo!
Yeah.
And
I love that because I feel like that's especially the salsa
yeah,
as well. That really taps into this. I mean, I call it like this alter ego that I had that was a little bit, it was dark and it was destructive before I integrated that part
yes,
of me. And now I call that side of me, I give her this name Roberta, and she's just this wild dark, she can be destructive if you don't allow her out in healthy
mm-hmm.
ways. And salsa for me is one of those healthy ways because it's so expressive, it's so sexy, it's so yeah. And so that's yeah, interesting that you have that vision of me.
Yeah, I honestly love it. Like I'm like, yes, that is Erin, and I just honestly, it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about the energies that we were talking around. You
Mm,
know, when we talk about self love and maybe the parts that you don't want to share about yourself, I feel like a lot of girls have, and you know, in different generations, but I feel like for my generation, a lot of girls now are just completely comparing everything about themselves on social media and feeling like they have to be this perfect version of themselves, in order to show up, as the best version. So
mm,
I would love you to maybe share some knowledge and wisdom and your thoughts on being vulnerable and opening up and, you know, falling in love with all parts of yourself.
mm. I think that's an interesting one, and I think there's two parts that I'd love to address in that question, because one of them is social media, and
Mm-hmm.
then another one is the self-love and being vulnerable. And I think that we need to be very careful about what we do share and how we share it on social media, or how we use social media, because we are opening ourselves up to anyone and anything on social media. So
Mm-hmm.
I think when I answer the question about vulnerability, and being open, I'm really wanting to talk to doing that in a safe group, and with safe people. I think you
Mm-hmm.
can be genuine and authentic on your social media. I think that's really important. But how much you share is something that we all and each of us need to discern and figure out what is my limit. Because after we do something, we need to sort of check in with ourselves and go, oh, did that feel like I went too far with, you know, where I'm at right now? And that might change, you know, when we get more comfortable with ourselves, or more comfortable with confrontation, or more comfortable with like um, different opinions, and we can expand our capacity there, then fair enough, start to share as much or as little as you want. But just knowing your capacity, I think, is important. So knowing
Mm.
yourself is really, really important before you go out and do that, I think, with social media. And same with friends and family. When there's certain people that you know, that definitely you kind of know the kind of response they're going to give already, then
Yeah.
sometimes, again, it's all about discernment. Sometimes maybe that kind of share isn't for them, or the way you truly want to share it, you don't call that person, perhaps you call the other person, so
Yeah.
I think it's important to be discerning. And I mean, there's no formula or like mathematic formula to easily follow for discernment. That's again something about knowing yourself and knowing how much you can take certain opinions, and how much you can't. So how sensitive you are to that, I think, is important before you go out and do that. But for sure, vulnerability with um, being yourself, and being able to say, yeah, I don't like peanut butter, or like, celery is
Yeah.
not for me, or whatever, is like, yeah, that's cool to say too. And just be real with it, be real with yourself and be real with others, because otherwise you just attract the wrong thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you try and fit into the wrong groups, and then you don't get to find the groups that do feel supportive. And you've just got to know what feels supportive for you at the time, and we're always going to grow. So as we grow, then our groups might change, or yeah, and some groups might fall away, or we then might go, this is the group I've been longing for ages, and it's finally here. But finally, you're probably then ready for it, because
Yeah.
you're really like right into being, yourself fully. um, and that can take time, that can take practice,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and communication is just a big one around that. But I think really about knowing yourself and what you need at every
Mm-hmm.
phase of your life. So you know you might be going through this big transformation, and you're kind of like in this new place, and you kind of might need familiarity, or you might need smaller groups, or you might, so you've got to kind of know what you need in those phases. And then once you've been there for a little while and you're kind of ready to expand a little bit, and then you go to the bigger festivals, or you go to the bigger
Yeah.
whatever. It depends on your personality, it depends on um, who you are at the time, and that's always going to grow and change. And so I think that's important to know, and then to be able to know how to communicate. Because I can remember I just was so afraid to say
Mm-hmm.
what I felt and what I thought, because I didn't want to hurt someone. And that's obviously some kind of belief or programming I had at the time, that um, yeah, being assertive, perhaps I was told wasn't kind or nice or something. So I kind of didn't do that. But now breaking free of that, and learning that being assertive is a good thing. And that's not being mean at all. It's just sort of taking up your space, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm. Yeah, everything you've just said there is so true. And I just think we have gone into this whole new world where there isn't any boundaries or anyone sort of, it is up to you what you want to share. And that can feel quite scary sometimes. There can be the pressures to feel like you have to share everything. And then there can be the pressures to feel like, you know, just to show the best parts. And I feel like a lot of girls that do listen have businesses or are in this space and want to learn around self love and how to, really, really pour into themselves, because I think there's a lot of pressure externally, and maybe people I find are really struggling with the internal support and
Mm,
really truly putting themselves internally first rather than everything else. So,
mm,
with everything that you devote yourself to and share around self-love and maybe the lessons, what would you love people to know around self-love? I guess I feel like it's one word that means
mm,
so much, but I feel like
mm.
you have so much to share.
Yeah, and when you were saying that, I was thinking about those women that you're speaking of with these businesses, and they're in this we're in this new world of the social media and that technology. Just really, again, and you're saying the internal world, it made me think about the work that I've done around like that inner child part of ourselves, and asking ourselves what she needs, and being able to sort of be protective around that, and stand up for that part of ourselves, and spending time on our own, even though it can be uncomfortable sometimes for some people. For some people, they love it, is really important, so that we can figure out what it is we like to do for ourselves, what it is we like to do that makes us feel good, especially for any relationship, including friendships, so that they don't become codependent. To get to know what we really like to do for ourselves is important. So whether that's, and I always say self-love is more than just taking a bath. It's about accepting yourself when no one else will, really coming to go, I really like to do this for myself, and so I'm going to go out and do that, whether you join me or not, or whether you want to do it on your own or whatever. And I think you do that so well, Yaz. Like you just kind of got up and you're like, I'm going overseas, and like I'm going to do this for myself. And then there's that balance, right, of the feeling of nerves and excitement of doing something outside your comfort zone. So how do we discern what feels like it's expanding us and it's good for us, and what feels like this is feeling scary and I don't know if it's good for me? That's a really difficult one to figure out. And again, I don't think there's any black and white answers, but it's something we need to figure out ourselves. What equals, expansion and nervousness? Do we have support? Do we have someone that's got our back? Perhaps we need that, compared to that I did that thing that felt big and scary, and I don't think that was the right thing to do. And I think also self-love is around going, kind of going like the forgiveness of ourselves, and going, well, that's okay that I did that, and it felt embarrassing, or perhaps I'm a little shameful of it, or whatever, but understanding that that's a part of your growth, and that's a part of understanding yourself more and more. And probably the more you do that, you will get there a little bit faster in how much you really know yourself. But I think having a good support system around you is important, especially in those times where you kind of go, oh my gosh, and you've got someone on the other end of the phone or sitting across from you to go, hey, but remember all of the courageous, smart, intelligent, and cool things, creative things that you've done. Like, don't forget about those. You're not just that person who did that thing that you're now like feeling a bit about. Because we can I kind of go and identify with that one feeling that we're experiencing in the moment, and then we don't want to feel it. But my thing too with the self-love thing is to you've got to feel it to heal it. You've got to feel things even if they're uncomfortable, because how you said, as women, we can kind of present the good parts of ourselves, but it's about also integrating the parts that we've also got to be okay with sitting in the feelings that we don't like. We've got to do the work first, and that is part of it. It's about sitting in the parts and the feelings that we don't feel comfortable with. And I think that will help you grow to become more self-loving if you can sit in the discomfort. Yeah.
It's such a deep personal journey, and I just feel like I feel like this podcast episode is very aligned with what I'm going through right now, and I'm sat here like, yes, I need to hear all of this, like, because it's such a deep journey, getting honest with yourself, especially when there's lots of programming for all of everyone, programming to be a certain way or show parts of yourself, and like maybe keep other parts suppressed or hidden. And so many people, I guess, and including me, I've had to learn, coming to amazing events like yours and different things,
Yeah.
of like, well, how to actually stop suppressing your feelings, how to
Mm.
stop feeling that shame, and start being able to have that acceptance of the different parts of yourself, and like being able to share a bit of like what I'm going through for everyone who's maybe feeling is like that shame of actually accepting parts of myself that for so long I suppressed. And
Mm.
I gave myself a full week off, where I cancelled everything, and I just allowed myself to feel and feel
Mm.
everything that was coming up for the first time in a very long time. And it is a very vulnerable and personal time, but from it I'm still going through a little, well, not a little bit, I'm still going through it, but
Mm.
being able to, it's like trust that actually I am falling in love with more parts of myself, and
Mm.
not just the positive, crazy, happy Yaz that everyone
Yeah.
sees. It's like, getting deeper. And from that, I'm
Mm.
learning so much about myself. So everything you're saying is just like, yeah, I really, really feel that. And I'm sure so many people can relate. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
so much so far.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about the ways that you do share, and I love what you share on your social media too. And if you felt comfortable with sharing those, like, sort of lower, more introspective moments, as long as you're connected with why you're sharing that, and with your audience, like,
Mm.
you might feel comfortable with sharing that, um, and also, one thing that I learned in the last few years was the having two feelings that were quite opposite to one another, but having them sort of at the same time. So, you might be
Mm-hmm.
going through this transition stage, or this reflective stage, or this stage where you need to be more inward, but also at the same time feeling excited that that you're interviewing someone for this podcast, and
Yeah.
being able to sort of hold those two things together at the same time, um, is also okay. We don't just need to be one. I don't think that's the human experience. I think we're always sort of shifting and changing and experiencing things. So just kind of also allowing, that kind of gave me goosebumps, because
Yeah.
I always bring it back to the yoga practice and our meditation practice. And part of that is just the allowing of what flows through you, and immediately that you sort of feel that, and then the next thing, something else is coming through, and it's all energy moving.
Yeah.
And I think that our minds love to just catch one thing and make
Fixate.
sense of
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah.
allowing is a great word, to be able to have that experience of inwardness, and then also allowing yourself to keep moving and moving on, or moving forward, so that we can also keep experiencing other things too. And it's okay that
Mm.
that feeling still comes back, but we can still be experiencing something else as well at the same time. So allowing, I think, is really good for those
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, that is honestly beautiful. Like, just hearing all of that, I'm sure you can see me smiling of like, it's so true. Like, there's always going to be different, emotions coming through. And
Yeah.
like you said, that allowing of it, like actually being able to give yourself that time and space to allow these energies. Like, I like learn like around, like, it's energy in motion,
Yeah.
emotions are energy in motion. And like, sometimes we can feel such shame around our emotions and feel like we have to be perfect. And it's so nice to have the reminders of like, actually, you're allowed to be feeling this whilst being excited for all of the other amazing things going on, and like
Mm.
having that polarity, I guess. And I wanted to actually touch on what you said in, like, before, around when you were younger and in Scotland and having those wild days.
Mm.
And I can so relate to that, of like, even at 24, I feel like I've gone through so many chapters and been so many versions of me already, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how are we here?
So cool.
it is so, it's crazy, isn't it? So who
Yeah.
knows what's to come? Like, same, when another 40 years of like, where you're gonna be, where I'm gonna
I
be then is
know, yes. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how many lives you're going to live by the time you get to my age.
it's crazy. It's like, oh. So much happens in such a short space of time. But wow, yeah, there's just so much to talk about.
Mm.
And I feel like I just want to have you on forever. I'm like, oh, so good. So also what I wanted to talk about, something that whenever I came to one of your full moon workshops in Byron Bay, which was just incredible. Actually, I think I've been to a few, and you have so much knowledge around the moon, and
Mm.
so much love that I felt like. At those full moon events, they were so powerful, and it was a full moon last night, so I feel like that energy is very present. So I would love to dive a little bit deeper with you into your knowledge around the moons and how women can honor this time and use it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, around the full moon, to really make it really simple, I think I'd love to explain it like the full
Yes.
moon's an easy one, I think, for us to all to connect with because we can see it in the sky and it's really big and everyone stops and looks at it when it's the full moon. Everyone, no matter how connected you are or not to it, everyone just goes, wow, that's incredible. And that's this time where this big light shines on you. And
Hmm.
it's like the light goes on in the warehouse, and then you can see everything in the warehouse and where the warehouse, and you kind of go, oh, that was that hidden old thing over there. Now I can see it, and I don't know, I just want to keep that in the corner and in the dark. Well, the full
Hmm.
moon brings all of that up and out. It's gravitational as well, so it pulls all of the water in the body sort of to the surface, and all our emotions and sensations are in our water body, which is we're made up of 80% water. So we're feeling a lot more. We're more sensitive to what we're feeling in the body around a full moon too, which is sort of the physical part of when it's a full moon. And even in hospitals, they put on extra staff around the full moon. It's like a full-on thing because people kind of go a little bit crazy, or we're all a little bit more maybe perhaps irritable. Some people are more energized, but this is what happens around the full moon. So this is a really great time to write down the things that are perhaps irritable for you or challenging you, so that we can start to discover about ourselves these patterns that are coming up. And once you do a full moon circle a couple of times, you start to really see patterns in yourself and what's coming up for you. And so this is the best time to let go and release. So
Hmm.
at my full moon circles, we always write down these things that we want to release and we burn them, and it just feels really great. It feels clearing and it feels cleansing. So around the full moon, that's what we would do. We would write down things that we're experiencing and the things that we might want to let go of, and perhaps also clear and cleanse the house too, and clear and cleanse your spaces so that you can refresh the energy. And then 2 weeks after that is the new moon, and then 2 weeks after that's the full moon, and then it keeps going like that, and
Yeah.
on the new moon there's no moon in the sky, and that's when it's a fresh start. It's like a blank canvas in the sky, the sky is completely dark. So this is a great time to plant the seeds. This is also when farmers would plant the seeds. So
Hmm.
again, we've got fishermen, we've got farmers who follow the stars, who follow the moon cycles. So it's not just a woo-woo thing. So
Yes.
at the new moon, you would write down what seeds you want to plant, what intentions you want to set for that next lunar cycle, which is always 28 days, around 28 days. So I always like to theme it around the moon that it's in. So say we're in the season of Taurus right now. So when
Hmm.
it was the new moon in Taurus, I would have been setting intentions around how I can stay grounded this month, and how I can feel more pleasures this month, because that's the sort of the traits and the themes of Taurus. And then we go next month into Gemini, and that's all about communicating and perhaps socializing. And so, asking myself questions around those sorts of intentions. So that's how we can sort of set that up in terms of that way. But our moon cycles also connect with our period cycles and our menstruation
Mm-hmm.
cycles. So once you start to become aware of where the moon is in its cycle, you can also start to become aware of where you are in your cycle. And at different times you will feel more energized, and sometimes you'll feel like you need more rest. And it depends on really your own body, but usually it doesn't, it doesn't, it's really just depending on your own body. But some full moons you'll feel more, you'll feel more energized, and at say the new moons you'll feel more it's time for rest, or perhaps you're the opposite. And same with your periods. So when you're bleeding, you might feel like you need more rest, or perhaps the lead up to your period, you need more rest, you feel more tired, or that's most likely when you're going to cancel on someone.
Yeah.
And then when you're ovulating, that's kind of when you're feeling more productive and more energized. And so when you start to become aware of these things, you can almost future plan. This is when I'm going to be ovulating. That's when I make plans with my friends. And when I'm leading up to my period, maybe I won't make any plans, because I know what I'm like. So again, this is just another tool to help us get to know ourselves, but also get to know these beautiful cycles that we have as women, and start to use them to support us, rather than getting a little bit down that, oh, I'm going to have my period soon or whatever. Like sometimes it can be a great time, because you're like, who doesn't like to watch a series of Netflix, every now and then? So it's like, this is a great time to watch that series, So getting to really enjoy these cycles instead of feeling like they're hindering you.
Oh my gosh, I feel that so much, because I've been shifting my business from like being taught to offer. I feel like it's like, the way that I've been taught, and I know a lot of people have been taught, is to like give unlimited everything and offer everything, all of your support. And then it's like, well, it can leave you feeling like, oh, okay. So that's the transition I'm going through, of like, okay, how can I run my business based on my cycle, being intentional, like giving, real quality to myself and to other people, rather than doing, everything. So it's a real beautiful shift right now that I'm figuring out, of like, how can I really honor myself, and then encourage other people to honor themselves, their cycles, their way of working. So everything that you were talking about there feels so aligned, of like really being able to, get in tune with our bodies. And
That's cool, Yaz, because also you're being the role model for so many women that you're working with, and you're going to be the example, So it's great when people have this physical example in front of them that is already doing it, because without leaders doing the thing that they're saying, like it's useless, the words that come out of our mouth, unless we're doing it. Like being integrity with that, Yaz, is incredible. So yeah, it's amazing.
It's so lovely hearing those words. I feel like I'm having like a real like sister chat right now, of like
Yeah, I'm the big sister.
I'm like, thank you. Tick.
Yeah.
No, it's so lovely. And I want to know, like, how can people learn a bit more? How can people learn the things that maybe we weren't taught, that maybe you wish people were taught, and how to honor themselves and cycles and all of the good stuff?
Yeah, where do you start? I mean, I guess I feel like there's so much out there. Um, and I know I share on my Instagram every full moon and new moon, and what the theme is. um, but yeah, being able to talk about it amongst our girlfriends, and sort of saying, hey, this is kind of what I'm going through. I'm also noticing that I'm at this stage of my cycle. What else can I be thinking about? Does this happen to you? I think just being able to be open enough and, again, vulnerable enough to be able to have that conversation with our girlfriends, and having that space where we can do that. And, um, you know, I hold the women's circles, but also part of my wish is that every single woman is has the knowledge, or just to feel empowered. Really, you don't need too much knowledge to hold a women's circle, but just to get your girls together and pull some tarot cards or some oracle cards, because it just gives you a chance to kind of pull the card and have a little chat about what that might mean. And then those conversations really develop into things like this, like whether it's like sex with our partner, or our periods, or the struggles with our business, or the struggles with our family, whatever it is. I think having a close network of people that you connect with like that is probably the best way. And I mean, for me, learning about all of this, I just really started to do my research too. And
Yeah.
yeah, and like there's a moon calendar 2025. You can see all of the dates that are coming up, and perhaps you go on there and look at when the full moon is, and maybe it's just a simple ritual of inviting a friend to go and have a picnic and watching the moonrise, or pulling
Sounds
some cards
lovely.
on the full moon, and just doing something simple like that, so that you get into these little habits of going, oh, it's the full moon, remember we catch up on the full moon, or whatever it is. It could be actually a really cool little connector point for you and a friend. And then, yeah, if you're interested in astrology, follow astrologers, or follow my posts that I post.
Yes.
I hope that I make them easy to read and understandable. That's always my intention. And yeah, I
I
think
love, yeah.
I would say that.
I was gonna say I love like the intimacy around what you're saying, because I just think it really brings back to what's important, which is like, yeah, the intimacy between these conversations. Like, um there's things that are very sacred and special, and being able to have that space of your girls and friendships and women in your life where you can open up. And I think that is healing. That is, for me, that's
Mm,
where they're like the memorable times, and that's where I've built deeper connections, is with
mm,
people I've been in this space with. And I just think that is like one of the best pieces of advice, is like, you don't always have to go searching. It's like sometimes you might have people right on your doorstep that you can hold space for each other with. So
that's
I love
right.
that.
That's right. I think just keeping it simple, and what we've got available to us in our immediate groups and in our communities, because that's how we're going to combat the technology and the social media, is making sure that we're also connecting with what's right in front of us and what's right here. And I'm sure you've enjoyed that while you've been back in Australia, connecting with all your people here too, because there's so many
Yes.
things that go through our heads, of the stories that we tell ourselves. But actually, when we sit in front of our people and we have those reflections, like you were saying, we are reminded of how much we're loved, and how much we're supported, and how much that we aren't alone, and that we have others. So it is
Mm.
about community, I think, is so important.
It really is. And it's like being able to separate this online world and actually look at real life again. And
Mm,
that's something, because I work with a lot of girls that, run online businesses. So it can almost become your whole identity.
yeah,
So it's like looking at, okay, well, what does my real life look like? Like, what parts would I like to welcome in? And like, where in myself would I like to feel that love? And I just feel like everything you've shared is so valuable for, people wanting to start this journey. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And keeping the balance, asking yourself how much percentage of your life would you like to have online and how much would you like to have in person. And again, that's up to you to
Mm.
decide, but to making sure that it's not just your identity of online. Yeah.
Yeah, and even that made me think, and I like the first thing that comes to mind would be like an 80 real life, 20 online. And even then, like I would need to have a journal and ask myself why and
Yeah.
does that feel right? But I think that's a really, really good question for people to
Mm.
ask is like, well, what percentage do you want? Because I know for a lot of people and in myself, it's gone really the other way sometimes.
Mm.
So, wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah, I've got these cool cards that I bought when I did this course. It's called Compassionate Communication, and they really get you to focus on values. And there's a whole deck of cards that are a whole deck of values. And so you can kind of go through them and choose what are your top three, or, and you could do it around that particular question. Why do I want to have 80% in person? Or why would I want to have, maybe I want more online, like why? And you kind of go through these values and you kind of like, because it yeah, it really connects me to community, which I love, or it really, you get to kind of figure that out again. And I think that's super important too. I do a bit of that work with my group, in the Coven, is every season we'll reassess what are the values that you want to have for this next season. And they've probably
Mm.
changed a little bit from that season before, because we grow and evolve and things change in families and life dynamics. But I think it's always important to review those things, and then you can get super specific on like questions like that one. And it
Yeah.
helps you connect with, again, yourself, that it's coming from you, and that it's like, this is why I'm doing it. And it's so much more empowering, because then you can stand in front of the camera, or you can stand in front of that person with a different opinion and be like, that's cool, you've got that opinion, but I know why I've got mine, and I know why I stand by that decisions, because it connects me to these things. So it just
Mm.
makes you a sort of stronger sense of self, I think.
Yeah, and being able to stand with that and stand with your beliefs and values.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's highlighted how important it is to not just look at these once, like to continue, in each season, like you said, like actually looking at how they might have changed. And for anyone listening, it would be fabulous for you to share a little bit around the coven and maybe, if anyone's intrigued, what it might allow for them.
Yeah, of course. The Coven is my online space. It's my
Ooh.
online space of women from all around the world. But at the moment, it's a nice, intimate, small group from women from Australia. But and we meditate every new moon, and we do
Mm.
journaling work and intention setting. And then in that space of the Coven, I also offer them one-on-ones. So these sort of values and these values sessions, so that we can do every season. And it's beautiful because they've been with me for so long. I've been doing this
Mm.
for a very long time. And when I moved from Melbourne about 9 years ago, that's why I started to do the online thing, because I was like, oh, I want to stay in touch with you all. And so we've sort of been growing together for that long. I've been
Oh,
evolving,
wow.
they've been evolving. And it's beautiful when you get to do it over a long period of time, because you get to see how far you've come, and how we do need that constant support of a group that you can
Mm.
show up to, and be vulnerable, and be able to just sort of be yourself. And it's nice to know that that support group's always there for you. So that's what the Coven is. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, it just sounds lovely. And I love that, it's been such a journey because you just see so many different parts of each other. And I'm sure they've seen so many
100%.
different parts of you and your growth.
Yeah.
And like, it's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
I
Um,
know they have.
yeah, if you send me, if you're, is it open for spaces for people that are able to
Yeah.
join?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'll send
Amazing.
you
So
the details.
send yeah, so then we can pop it in the show notes for anyone that's feeling called. Like, I just feel like I have so many things that I'm like, wow, you just have so much knowledge, and I just love the way that you share as well. I just feel like it comes from a real place of love and intention, and it just makes me so happy having you on.
Thanks, Yaz. Thanks for letting me have the opportunity to just share. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, it's been beautiful, and I just feel like, yeah, I'm so grateful that you've come on today. I will share your lovely page and everything where everyone can find you. But any last words for the podcast?
Oh, I just have words for you. Yes, I'm just so proud of you. I
Oh,
love seeing you. I love seeing how you show up and how you're dedicated to your work and this work that you're doing. And yeah, I just have so much admiration and respect for you. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to be in your life and to catching up again whenever we get to
yes.
bump into each other. I can't believe we didn't see each other in
I
Iluka the
know.
other day.
Oh my goodness, I know that's crazy. Like, you're honestly, I feel like the full moon energy is very present with the emotion. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cry. Thank you. Oh, I've nearly fallen off my chair twice. Like, oh. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, yes.
Honestly, I feel like we might need a part 2 at some point, because I'm like, even around like the feminine energies and everything, there's just
Let's
so
do
much
it.
to dive into. But thank you so much, and everyone, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode on the Your Girl Yaz podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7 a.m. UK time, so I look forward to seeing you back here. I also have a free higher self meditation course for you to learn to meditate, to relax, to switch off, that's available for you to access now in the show notes. And also, don't forget to follow the podcast wherever you're listening, rate, leave us a review. I appreciate it way more than you could ever know. Thank you so much again for listening. If you've got any feedback of the podcast, my Instagram at Yasmin Lily Hilston is also linked in the show notes, and I really appreciate it.